So here we are, and this is Swap-O-Rama-Rama, San Francisco. I decided to live for a year with no currency, no monetary system. Each problem had to be solved, the dentist, and how do you do this and how do you do that without money. When it came to clothes, it was just logical. I'll throw a clothing swap. But because I was on this quest for what is underneath consumerism, what's really going on here, why has our country become this blanket of blandness, I decided to wrap that inquiry around the clothing swap. This is everyone's junk, and someone else inevitably sees something in someone else's junk and is like, that's perfect. Part of the idea is to be able to see it. What is this material? Forget the shirt. Right. What can I do with the material? To attend the event, you have to come with any size bag of unwanted clothes. Now, some people bring a shopping bag and some people bring a gigantic suitcase. Even at 500-person events, we're recycling 5,000 pounds of clothes. I added creativity to the swap, so sewing machines, which became our sewing stations. I brought in a team of silk screeners, added that component, and a fashion show, figuring if we're going to be together making this great stuff, let's celebrate our own creativity and show it off. There is no creativity in consumerism. The consumer is largely asked to express their uniqueness by being selectors. Shopping is pretty much a solo adventure, like you go alone, or maybe you go with your friend and you maybe talk to them, but probably nobody else. And at Swap-O-Rama-Rama, there'll be a table of clothes, a bunch of people. They'll pick up something, they'll look around and realize there are no mirrors, which is totally intentional. And then they'll turn to the person next to them and go, how do I look? And there's that intimacy, it's immediate. And then someone across the table who also doesn't know either of them will go, this is so you. And nobody knows anybody, And then an hour later, I see them all sitting on the floor, the three of them cutting up a pair of tighty-whities with glue and glitter and scissors, It's it just happened. Makers don't make good consumers. The less you know, the less you can make, the more you're gonna buy. You learn what your thing is made out of, you start to look at the wider world, you make decisions that reflect your personal taste, and in that process, you make discoveries like, oh, synthetic fabrics constitute 50% of textiles made in this country. Then synthetic fabrics, are totally destructive to the environment. What was the labor that made these things that I'm now sourcing? Oh wow, it's made by, indigenous people who are now factory workers making a nickel. I've literally been watching people transform. Volunteer staff, a kid that works at a bookstore and has no inclination to get involved in fashion design in any way, shape, or form, and who volunteers to be a clothing sorter, and a year later comes back to the swap and is a designer. I've seen people run out of the swap practically screaming that of all the things they're going to do and they have to do and they can't wait to do. It's like you just see the spark and then your own mind expands, and that seems to happen to a lot of people. As soon as you have this good idea, everyone says, are you going to copyright it? Are you going to franchise it? How are you going to protect it? I did the logical thing and did a Creative Commons, share and share alike. So this can be taken by the world community and used and whatever. It makes me a gatekeeper in the sense that a person does need to say, if they're going to call it a Swap-O-Rama-Rama as opposed to something else, they do need to say hello to me. So that if they were a corporation, for example, which is excluded in this license, I could either grant them permission because there's a good reason to, or not. What I do is offer them everything I've got. I have a sewing machine sponsor called Genomi, who will ship them sewing machines for their event and then have them returned. I give them email lists if they're not web independent. I'll put up web pages for them on my website, and then I'll train people on how to produce events. What comes out of the swap so often is the stitches show, the mistake show. And Mikey, my partner, is great at this. He loves to have the wires hang out because it says, look at me, I did it myself, check me out. And it really is beautiful. I think it's far more beautiful than this meticulous, perfect hem that you can measure with a ruler. It's boring. It says no human being touched this. No one's kicking to the curb that garment that they spent the whole day making, and it reminds them of when they sat with their 5 friends and had the greatest day and greatest time. That's not going in the trash. That's hanging around for a good long time.